I think we should be good to go in a few seconds. Okay. What is more difficult for founders than product market fit and achieving funding? I think, in my opinion, it's the critical, candid feedback from their customers and investors. Founders often get sugar-coated BS from their prospects instead of a purchase order or funding. And we at Ithom are set to change that. That's the reason we host these roast sessions where founders get to answer difficult questions and learn from the brutal, unfiltered feedback from subject matter experts. And all of that is done on live stream to make founders comfortable with unknowns. Today, we have Gil, CEO and founder of HomeRoots, on the hot seat, who is going to be roasted constructively by a diverse panel. And now I would request our esteemed panelists to introduce themselves and briefly talk about their background in the space. If I may start with Abhishek. Abhishek, please.
Sure, thanks. Hi, this is Abhishek, an industry veteran with almost 2 decades of experience, have deeply invested in the Indian startup ecosystem for last 10 years. Currently, we do quite a lot of mentoring session here in India on D2C, deep tech, edtech, edutech, as well as many new agentic AI, which is the new keywords to get the funding. We find we are expert in finding the right product market fit as well as the growth from there onward. So that's me.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Abhishek. Really appreciate your time today. Abhishek did not mention, but he has done a couple of exits as well in the past. And obviously, because of his experience in the startup ecosystem, I'm sure we are going to get a lot of great insights and questions from Abhishek today. Thanks a lot, Abhishek. May I request Anjali to go next, please? I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, hi. I have been in the home retail industry from 13 years, based in Dubai. And I'm actually the concept head working for one of the biggest retailers. We are catering to B2B and B2C market for home goods. And it's an honor and privilege to know such a wide panelist over here and work to give feedback, constructive feedback on very innovative idea, which is presented by HomeRoots. I think it's very important, especially in the retail industry, how innovation can be matched with the consumer experience and consumer journeys. That's how we try to compel ourselves as a retailer to bring in the footfalls in the store, blended with the rising technology to give enhanced experience to the consumers. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to this meeting.
And thanks a lot, Anjali. And you will see how what you're doing at Dun Home is so relevant with HomeRoots. So thanks a lot. Appreciate your time today. Onno, may I request you to go next, please?
Hi, I'm Onno. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, but I am on the advisory board of an actual startup called Elify. They're doing AI-based skills matching. I spent 23 years in the World Bank. My last job there was country director for India, and I was involved in when Amitabh Kant set up Startup India. So I have that background also. And as a country director, I chaired hundreds of meetings where I either had to roast a project or fund it. In this case, it's going to be only roasting. I'm also on the board of the Airbus Foundation. I really look forward to this session. It's a very interesting concept, although I do have some tough questions for you.
We definitely need tough questions, Onno, so don't worry about it. We want you to not hold back, not hesitate, and give as much critical, constructive feedback to Hagar and Gil as possible. Thiago, may I request you to go next, please?
Hello, I'm Thiago Ferraz from Brazil. It's a pleasure to be here. My first time doing something like this also. Right now I'm working at Sys Manager. It's a Brazilian company, software company, also located at Colombia and US. And I've been working for the last 10 years in product management and portfolio product management. I have an MBA in data science, and I'm heading the delivery teams from sys manager in US soil, very focused on data solutions, AI solutions, digital products for US and Latin America markets.
Thank you, Thiago. And Thiago come with a very high recommendation from one of the mentors that we have within our Ethom ecosystem. Again, thanks a lot, Thiago. Really appreciate your time. Last but not the least, we have Mridu on the call, who's a fantastic friend, mentor, investor. Mridu, please go ahead.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yes, sir.
It was in one of these similar roast up, where I just joined in as an audience, asked some questions. I was very intrigued what this event is, and that's how me and Pankaj, became friends, and we have stayed in touch for a long time. I'm, like Anjali, I'm into retail space and in Dubai, though I've been in the fashion space, worked, across geography of India and MENA with lots of international brands. Some of the brands you recognize like Next, Gap, Muji, etc. Some of the brands, which no longer exist, like, Globus Retail and Pyramid Retail in India. And one of the things in my experience of being in business leadership, strategy, etc., I've realized is it's all about acid testing of the assumption. When we are making the business blueprint, are we, making the right assumptions, right? So, Gil, I think, the people are ready to roast you. I will try to be and answer some questions, right? Okay. So looking forward to interacting. Also, I will say, I'm a student, the reason I love joining these events is I'm a student of retail. And, for example, I was at Seamless in last 3 days. And I realized that I enjoyed being at the startup corner much more than on the retail or the e-commerce corner, because that's where people are taking bold, audacious steps, right? And, I get a bit of reverse mentoring talking to this thing. So I'm a student of retail and a fan of all the founders, because I myself am not a founder. Okay.
Mridu did not mention, but he's investor in bunch of startups and in funds, including Ethom. Okay, thanks a lot, Mridu. And again, I know Mridu doesn't hold back, so I'm sure he's going to ask some really difficult questions. Now, Gil, let's start with your introduction and with the HomeRoots pitch. Please go ahead. You can share your screen.
Okay. So let me share my screen.
Yep, we do see your screen.
All right. So a little bit in a nutshell, really, about myself. I come with a background in software development. I got into the retail space when I led a project, started off initially financial project global-wise for Toys R Us. And then from there, led the partnership with Amazon to take the toys category there to where you guys know of it today. From there, had a company that helped brands sell directly to consumers, exited this company, and after that, I held different roles of advisory consultancy, a lot of 500 Inc., mainly in the US. And one thing led to another. I saw a void in the B2B space. I saw the challenges of being on both sides, advising on logistics, import, export, wholesale, retail, e-commerce, software development. Everything is on the enterprise side, development side. And I saw a void, and I decided to fill in that void, starting off with the furniture industry, because us as consumers, we expect a certain level of services and really at the mercy of the companies that we're buying it from. And currently, the service, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but I can tell you in the US, it wasn't that great. Also, this market is not led by a specific leader. It's very fragmented and very antiquated. And that's why I wanted to disrupt it. Less I knew that we're actually going to start disrupting more than just the furniture industry. But I'll start with the pitch, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So if you manufacture a product and you want to sell to consumers today, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Shopify, eBay, Etsy, you name it. But to go big, you got to go retail, and there's no place for that. And when you reach out to retailers, they're just too busy. They're not motivated to get back to you. And honestly, it's nothing personal. They're just too busy. Okay. So we have a problem, right? It's almost impossible to get to do business with retail. But let's say optimistic, and let's say by the magic of the fairies, somehow you got in. But those retailers have lots of requirements and regulations, and if you're not going to adhere to them all the way to the extent they're going to penalize you left and right, up to the point that either they're gonna run you out of money or they're going to kick you out. So for you to excel in this relationship, you got to hire talent that knows compliance, knows logistics, merchandising, inventory management, sales, marketing, IT. Whoa, a lot of different roles to pocket for a small to medium-sized manufacturer that doesn't really have the budget for that. And everybody wants to play in this market, and the market that we're targeting is the North American retail sales of home products, right? Because it's a $400 billion market that we're really going after. All right. So if you're in a home category, you don't have to worry about all this requirements, or most of them, okay? We built up a platform that enable you as the manufacturer to upload your products as a one-time thing to us, to our portal, okay? You set your pricing. Then using proprietary AI that we built, we know how to generate content, generate imagery, map the field in such a way that it will be a fit for the retailers that we work with. And in return, we know how to turn those products live quicker than everybody else for sale to the end consumers. The way that we make our money is that we're getting the wholesalers to set a certain price, we mark it up, and then the retailers obviously take their markup when they're selling out to the consumers. And now when the order flows in through the consumers onto the retailers, using third-party partnership with different logistics companies nationwide, we pick up the goods from a warehouse nearby and shipping it and delivering it to the end consumers. What you see on the left of the pipe are those are more notable customers. We also have hundreds, or almost now I can say thousands of small businesses that buy from us on a regular basis. But what you see on the left are existing customers, retailers that buy from us on a regular basis. We tend to bring about 2 to 3 of those every year. Over the next month, over the next quarter and a half, because we're already mid Q2, the other retailers that you see here, the other icons are going to come on board, and we're going to finish the integrations with all of them. I want to note our partnership with Redfin, which is now a segue or expansion beyond the retail realm, also into the real estate industry. But recently, we have progressed with working mostly with domestic suppliers straight to the factories direct by leveraging partnership with Alibaba, Shopify, Asia Pacific, Tmall, and some of the largest private export groups globally that they want to play directly in the market, bypassing traditional importers. This method demonstrates that it can reduce cost of goods sold to retailers and increase margins to both factories and HomeRoots. So if HomeRoots by now was working mainly on 20% markup, now we're going to be able to work, 20% margins. Now we're going to be able to work on close to 40 to 50% margins. And the way we make our money, the way we make our sales, it's very simple. It's one formula, okay? We need to constantly increase the number of SKUs. What you will see, we're expecting to double our customer, since we're expecting to double our customer base over the next couple of months. Therefore, we're expecting to double our annual sales per SKU. And due to the partnership with international factories and enterprises overseas, our SKU count on the platform is scheduled to 10 times itself over the next year and a half. And not to neglect our AI technology that really helps us to reduce the cost of setting up products with the different retailers nationwide and beyond also. And that leads to the next thing. That leads to our sales, which we're expecting to grow beyond $120 million by 2027. Our revenue really consists of transactional revenues with 20% gross margin, as I said, and SaaS, which is also being charged for some of our suppliers and some of our small businesses that pay for connectivity and our data and content services. A bit about our team here. I told you about myself and my history. Agar is on the call, COO. Has quite between us. We have 2 exits under our belt. Diane is, she had the merchandising and procurement for both Macy's and Batman and Beyond. Hagar has this extensive experience with logistics, e-commerce. She's our COO, also as I said on the call, to exit. We know what we're doing, and we have all the experience and the ingredients that are needed in order to succeed in this space. And last but not least, we are looking for $2 million at pre-money, $12 million pre-money valuation. The M here is actually missing, but why do we need the money? We need the money because we need about 5 to 6 developers to complete our integration with both on the new retailers that we're bringing on board, but also overseas factories and the partnership like Alibaba, Tmall, and those guys as well. Following on with them, we will need account manager. We estimate that we need about 1 account manager per 250 manufacturers that we'll bring abroad. And then obviously expanding our C-level suites and biz dev to help continue to grow organically. So we're a New Jersey-backed company. What does it mean? It means that every investment in our company, doesn't matter where you are, will give you a cash back from the state of New Jersey for 20% of your investment. And we're also in a pipeline to receive grants from the state, whether that's towards our AI technology and as well as matching by VCs for up to $6.25 million. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to my quick pitch, and I welcome your questions, in parentheses, roasting, and we'll take it from there.
Who wants to get hands dirty first?
Oh boy.
I can go since I've never done this, if you don't mind.
Please,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I saw the pitch also yesterday, and I realized that you have AI that can turn a picture of a table into a lovely picture of a table in a living room, and
Yes.
you can write one of these blurbs that convince me to buy something that I probably want to send back when I receive it. But other than that, I'm not quite there in understanding the substance, because you explained really very well why it is difficult to become a supplier to a major company and all the issues that you need to resolve, quality, timelessness, inventory management, IT, whatever. Now, you didn't explain to us how you are dealing with those problems. And if you're not, then your relationship is likely to be short. So I'm assuming that you are dealing with these problems, but you could possibly be a bit more specific as to why you can do this and they can't, because you're taking 20 and want to even take 40% of the money. That's not insignificant.
Yes. No, very good question. Extremely good question, I will say. So I'll go just to one slide just to refer to the flow. So a traditional supplier or vendor of retailer has to go through a certain process, which they need to provide their product proposal. They need to go through a buyer. The buyer may answer, may not, may reject the proposal, may not. And even if so, the whole process is extremely manual, and every time it repeats itself. It's not a scalable operation for the vendor, assuming that they are in a relationship, which is one of the problems that we're solving, to be in a relationship to begin with. The way that we got solved the problem is that we were able to demonstrate to retailers, one after the other, that we can connect to their backend systems and we can provide quality of the data and accuracy of the data that is by far superior to what they're getting from their average and even the more advanced vendors. And we're no longer going through a buyer. We're no longer going through the same process as everybody else. We're on a different lane. And that gave us access to different systems and everything that they don't. Okay, so we're not facing, not that we do not have challenges with retailers, not that we don't talk to buyers, but we don't talk to buyers on the aspect of product introductions. It's more related to the sales or pretty much assortment that they would like us to try to push over to. It's more strategic conversations, less than just operational. And that's really the difference between us and them. Hopefully that answer your question.
I still don't know how better data make sure that the product is actually good, because
Okay, so I'll add one more step, and this is related to our AI. What's happening in the space and what we're seeing mainly with manufacturers, and we're seeing it more with international manufacturers that has issues with English as a second language. They tend to make data entry mistakes. Okay, meaning, or they tend to miss certain attributes or mischaracterizing the attributes. And what's happening to the retailers, the results that they, how will I say, they disappoint their end customers by their end customer expecting to receive something, but actually not receiving what's been advertised. Okay, call it misadvertising. Our technology knows to, when we are, obviously we're getting the same data as what the retailer will get if they were to do direct relationship. But our technology, part of our AI, knows to spot those mistakes. We know how to compare the imagery to the attributes. We know how to make sure that certain attributes, there's no data conflicts among themselves. I'll give you one quick example to minimize it. Let's say if the materials that a certain seat is made of cannot sustain. We know from, after reviewing tens of thousands of products in a similar category with similar characteristics, we know that certain attributes, certain materials cannot sustain certain capacity weight. But if a supplier will put in a certain capacity weight that's pretty much abnormal, our system will trap it and will prevent it and will send it back to the manufacturer for fix. None of the retailers that we work in our network, even the most advanced ones, have those capabilities. So this is why they love us, and this is why they trust us. And this is why we're on a different lane, and we're solving a lot of issues to the retailers that corresponds to customer support, returns, customer attrition at the end of the day. So those are the things that set us apart from the average
I think Abhishek has
average
a
suppliers.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gil, my understanding is, just to validate, you are selling two things. One is understanding the product from the image and creating the tag and the content out of it. Second is the integration with the multiple stakeholders in the e-commerce space, right? These are the two key problems you are solving.
The first problem that we're solving is that, and think about the factory, okay, in a foreign country. Let's say they need to sell to a retailer where you are right now. How do they get to do business together?
Are
How
you
do
solving the problem of imports?
I solve the problem that the products that the factory has to sell, I'm guaranteeing that the retailers in our network will sell the products of the sellers on our platform, the manufacturers who come on board on our platform. I'm guaranteeing them that the product will be introduced to the market by the retailers. And I'm the only one who's able to guarantee that. That's the first problem we're solving. The second problem we're solving is, okay, how do we make sure that now we got all the eyeballs on the products? How do we help you, the manufacturer? How do we help you actually increase sales? So that's where the content comes in. That's where the QC to reduce bad customer experience, to provide a higher quality that ranks, also better keywords that ranks higher in the search results. So there's even more eyeballs on the product. And then we simplify the whole logistics aspect of, okay, factory has a warehouse here, not necessarily know how to deal with trucks or deal with the carriers. So we're solving that problem as well for them by partnering with third-party carriers, and we're automating the pickup from the warehouse and delivery to the customers. On the retail side, we're solving the problem of managing multiple relationships. We're solving the problems of eventually reduced cost of goods sold. We're solving them the problem that they have with returns. To give you an example, Wayfair, we got elected as one of their preferred vendor provider, that some of their sellers will actually start going through our platform before they list their products on Wayfair. And they're not the only one that we're in discussion with. They want to minimize returns due to bad data. 15% of their returns are due to bad data, and they want to eliminate that. And they know that we're the only one in the market today that can solve their problem for them. So those are the problems that we're solving retailers. So we're solving problems for different sides. And that's basically what we're bringing to the tables. Those are the
I think
solutions.
Abhishek has a follow-on question.
Sure.
Product validation, manufacturer validation. The second part is content to make it integration with multiple players. And the third part is the logistics so that the returns and all those problems are reduced, right?
Right.
And you are not competing with one of those retailers in the middle. You don't have your own portal right now.
We have our portal, which is business to business transactions for small businesses who wants to buy from us, but we do not sell directly to consumers. We don't want to compete or with our own customer base. It's not what we
And
want.
and you're selling a solution. Why don't you sell the technology?
We're about to as well.
Okay.
We're
So
about to. It's not yet there. It's
it's the
not yet
next
there.
phase where you will
Yes.
be selling a licensed product where this the solutions can become a stack of the retailers itself.
Yeah, we're actually starting that with Wayfair. We're starting that conversation. I also have conversation with Target and some other retailers here in that space that we're talking about them. I don't have yet a signed agreement, only with Wayfair. That's the only first one. But this is where we had it. You're
Okay.
actually a little bit you're seeing the future. It's good.
Yeah, because having seen some of these journey for the fashion retailers earlier, and some of those players in India who have solved this problem with large retailers in fashion, and India being 1.4 billion kind of a target market in terms of the number of people here. They finally realize it's better to be a tech vendor and provide a solution where you can generate ARR, MRR without taking so much of headache around logistics and all. So
Yeah.
that the similar product could actually identify if a t-shirt is a polo t-shirt, or it's a crew neck, or it's a what color, what material, and then is it suitable for the Hawaiian party, or is it for suitable for the office party? They did it similar as the way you started, but later on they realized technology as a solution is a lot more better ROI and peaceful business for them. And then they got directly integrated with all the retailers.
We're headed actually both ways. There's a lot of things on the transactional side that opens us up to additional opportunities that we don't have today. Such as syndication of advertisements and things like that we know that or other services that we're charging already today. More of the suppliers and small businesses, but having the retailers, the big retailers, also pay for that. This is definitely in our path for the simple reason we're just able to demonstrate. Listen, with Wayfair, we're just able to demonstrate them through injections of products into their system.
Right.
I didn't need to pitch. They already came to us. They saw how we're solving the problem. So it was the relationship was more they're coming to us versus we're reaching out to them trying to pitch our idea, our solution, or this. They're coming to us. They're seeing the difference.
One last question before I hand over to Thiago or Anjali. What is your charge unit? How are you charging it to your clients?
So to let me go back here. So not every retail pays the same price, to be completely candid, but the average weighted margins that we're working on is about 20% as of today. That before going factory direct. Once you go factory direct, the margins will go higher. But we also do SaaS, which, as I said, we charge other sellers on our platform or small business. It's anywhere between $25 to $1,200 on a monthly recurring revenue.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I jump in, guys?
Thiago, please.
Okay. Gil, I was thinking about the technology part and that you are asking for 5 or 6 developers. So I'm seeing this company like very tech oriented and in a product like a company oriented by AI, right?
Yes.
But today we have a lot of low code and AI platforms that you can launch products, and also you can search for there's an AI for that, and you can see like some Vinteo AI, SQKU launch platforms that you can use to build something similar, and so I'm thinking, what's your strategy to stay always ahead of this going development on AI and low code, so you can stay ahead of the competitors, new competitors, and also from partnership between Wayfair, Shopify, and Google and Amazon, and they are already building it. So I'm thinking about your strategy for R&D, basically, in your company.
Sure. Sure. So that's for a different angle. No, good stuff. So tell you what, so the way um the way we're scaling it, and this is something that we're working right now under the hood. Okay, you don't see that in the slide, but it's a good question. Are using agents and AI that they're constantly going to run on the back end, going to revise it because retailers constantly come with new requirements. As the market changes, there's going to be new retailers that are going to come on board, new integrations constantly, right? But now we started looking more and actually experimenting with agents, AI agents which is some of it, it's open source that you can use, you can kind of combine together and build it all up. And now it's getting to a more stable stage with what's been released out there as an open source. And so we're heavily going after that. This is part of our secret sauce, I will say, to stay ahead with the integrations. One point just to refer to what you said about Amazon, and you got Google, and you got Walmart might be doing something soon. As retailers, they're also trying to be innovative with their content creation, all those things. Um, the way the way I look at that is those retailers are limited from one perspective, their business model. Amazon, I mean, if I were Wayfair, I will never buy the modules from Amazon. If I were Lowe's, I will never buy my modules from Walmart or Amazon or anybody else. I just will never do it. They're my competitors. So there's a usage limit on what those companies can do. Not about the quality of what they're producing, but the limit. There's a limit because they're limited within their market. And I think that's really where we're coming different. Because we're the connector, we're the layer before that. So that's pretty much it. The content and the imagery that we're doing is really just to help products rank higher with the retailers. If they want to use it, good. If they want to use other solutions to help them out, also good. But there is a tendency to do something. If you have a native app on your phone or on your device, you're going to tend to use that native app versus someone that might be cool, but it's not native to your platform, to your working platform. And what we're building is native to HomeRoots. And so if you're a seller on HomeRoots, you're going to tend to use our services, our technology, just because it's blended in. And so that's really
Right.
where we have.
And in the other direction, aside for the tech part, but talking about sales and marketing, I see that you have this like double the number from this year to the next one, right? In sales.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, what's the strategy behind it? Because you were asking for 2 million for 6 or 5 developers and some account managers. But what's your strategy in marketing and ads? And how can you go from 36 to 120 in next 2
Yes.
years? You're
So,
like exponential there.
Yes. So that's also a question. That's a strategy. Okay. So till today, we don't have any. We never spent money on marketing. I don't have a biz dev. I don't have a salesperson, marketing person. None of it. All of our growth, all those names that you see here, the icons, and they're big companies. 90 something% of it came to us organically. Okay. And we're doing it with a mix of. We started off with when we're promoting some of the products out to the market, we're promoting them as HomeRoots. Some of them you'll see as HomeRoots. And we know the DNA of retailers. We know how they think. We know the DNA of factories. They know how to think. And that enabled us as we push our name higher in the search results. with those retailers, I know that their competition gonna look for us, and that's how we got also all of our small businesses. So this is one aspect that we were able to grow. And I know that I need to take care of the supply side. If I take care of the supply side, the demand side will come. That's my biggest problem, or my biggest challenge, I won't say, or was my biggest challenge. So if I'm able to expand my assortment of products, I'm able then to reduce the cost of products. The retailers as well as small businesses, we give them the facilities within our platform to do referrals for other friends, for other associates, part of their associations, part of their group cohorts, you name it, to invite. They get some type of a financial incentive to invite, and that's all about the network effect that we're building. So it's spending less money necessarily on marketing, more about the implosion or explosion of enabling network effect to both sides. Factories to invite companies that want to buy from them, transact on our platform, and customers who wants to invite friends. I won't call it families, but I will call it friends, associate, colleagues, part of association, also come on our platform and have some type of financial benefit. We see that to convert way better than just pure pay-per-click activities. And also that's the reason why I'm looking to bring a biz dev, just to be able to facilitate and grow those network effect activities, which is one of the roles I'm actually actively looking for.
Thank you,
Did I
Thea.
hear correctly that you're going to
Hi.
increase your? Oh, sorry. You
No,
haven't
it's
spoken.
okay. Carry on.
Go for it.
So, Jill, I actually have two questions. One is related to content strategy.
Mhm.
When you gave the instance of Wayfair pretty much on their portal, they are far, I think, one of the best in content when it comes to products, home products. But as a retailer, as a buyer perspective, when if we have to give a perspective, the product has to be viewed it has to be understood from all angles, the quality, the aesthetics. So how is your pitch on the content and the AI model different from the AR or the VRs or the immersive experience that the other platforms are giving? What is new that is coming for the retailers?
Sure. So,
Can I ask a question about your question just before you answer, Gil?
sure.
Is
Yeah.
the question about content for marketing? Specifically, are you asking about the marketing side of content
No,
or
the
in
content of the
general
products.
of the
No,
product?
in the
Okay.
content of the products for
Okay.
retailers to choose from the portal.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, Wayfair is a unique. They have a very unique situation, which is more of the exception in the industry. I will mention what it is, and then I'll talk about the rest of the industry. So Wayfair, when you publish a product on to Wayfair, they either white label that, and then they want to use their own content. They will not use anybody else content. Or did they keep the original brand and the original listing as it is? So they split to both. They decide whatever they want to do. So if they're going after their own, I won't call it private brands because it's not physical private products, but let's say they go on with their own white branded products, then there's no competition because it's their own content, and they will only use their content they just want to control the branding. If it's none of the brand, they don't want to get involved in the content at all. So they will use ours. So in a way, we're not competing with them no matter what. That's in the case of Wayfair, and they're very an exception. Other retailers, they don't have those capabilities right now today to create the content. Actually, I'll give you this example that we have with Lowe's, which is one of the retailers that we're talking about, the solution provider, everything else. They want their suppliers to provide them with white labeling content because they don't have the technology themselves. And apparently their suppliers, which the wholesaler in the market, don't have the capabilities also to do it at scale. This is why they're actually reaching out to us to enable the solution, and that's also the same conversation what we have with other retailers. So it's less about maybe one retailer might be able to come up with that, like I said, with Amazon or Wayfair or those guys, but it's very specific to their needs, to what they're doing, and you cannot really use the same content with other retailers or other places in the market. And the reason why you cannot do it, just to mention that, then the product will be found on the internet. You'll start having sales channel conflict, price competitiveness, and price comp or comp shopping that's been made there, and then it can ruin the margins for the suppliers. So Amazon only thinks about themselves, Wayfair thinks about themselves, but they don't see it necessarily from the eye of the seller who don't want the retailers to know that they're actually selling the same product. They want differentiation. They don't want the price comp and the competition. And that's part of what our solution solves, just because we're one step backward in the chain. I know it's a long answer, but hopefully it
Yeah, and I
gets
think
to
it
the
needs to be
question.
visually presented. Probably that would
Yes.
make a much more, differentiated. But
Yeah.
is this solution also for interior designers?
It's starting to be, well, if interior designer wants to sell our products on their website,
Yeah.
then yes, then it is. If they want it for design a space and create like a virtual, augmented reality, and we're not there yet. We're exploring certain partnerships in that space to enable that.
Okay.
We just got
Thank
started,
you.
so
Yeah.
one step at a time.
I believe Onno wanted to come in. Onno, please.
Yeah, thanks, Pankaj. So I think I saw that you were able to charge a 20% margin, and I think I heard you say that you think you can go to 40. Frankly, that blew my mind, because 40%, taking 40% off a retail transaction is totally ginormous as a percentage.
I know.
So maybe I misheard, but I even think 20 is high in the long term, because I don't think you can grow this business based on increasing your margin. If you are successful in growing it on market share, that'd be a fantastic result. Because the problem is, the higher your margin is, the more critical people will be about what the actual value add is that you bring. And when you also basically say that through content creation, you mask the fact that some products are the same, but sold through different channels and not totally sold as the same, then you got some real potential vulnerabilities there. So there's two things there, right? How real is the value you bring, and is it really worth 20%, even if you're able to charge it now, but your market share is very small, because the number of millions is very small compared to the people you work with. And do you really think it's wise to go to 40% margin? Because I certainly don't think it is.
Okay, so good point. Good point. And I'll indicate why I said 40%. So I'll start with the math, and I'll use
40% of what, Gil? Is it 40% of the sales value?
of a transaction. So let's say if we sell a product to a retailer today for $100, on average, we keep in our bank $20. That's today. Okay. With the
And that
new model,
$100 then is the cost of goods to that retailer.
yes, yeah. So we keep $20 right now in our bank. This new model will enable us, and I want to emphasize the word enable, to keep $40. And I'll explain the word enable, and I'll explain this chart here. And why we can do it, and what we want to do, where we may go, probably where we may go when the time is right. So here's the thing. And why I'm demonstrating it. And why I demonstrated the 40%. Today's the business, right? The market is, there's a big role for importers. There's a reason for importers. I've been importer myself many, many years. But importers, in order to stay in business, they got to work on at least 50% margins. In order to sustain their warehousing costs, transportation costs, the entire operational cost, marketing cost, all those other things. 50% is break even. That's in our industry, in our space. And to start making money, they need to be at 60%. That's today. Now, if we're able to successfully take importers out of the equation, that 60% needs to get divided by someone. Now, who's it gonna get divided by? I'm saying some of it. Let's say we're gonna split it 30, 30, a third, a third, a third. 20% give to the factories so they can sell 20% higher than what they're selling today to importers. 20% theoretically can go to us. This is where the jump from 20 to 40. And I say enable us to go that route. And then the 20% we can save it to the retailers, and by them, being able to offer them products, the same quality, the same products they're buying today, most likely cheaper than what they're buying it today. Now, the reason why I'm saying 40%, because I want to demonstrate that how aggressive we can be with breaking the product's pricing in the market. We can decide at any given time, and I agree with you, the 40% is high. It's very high. But the reason why I'm saying 40%, I want to demonstrate to you how we can actually decide how we want to play with our pricing and our flexibility, extreme flexibility in controlling the pricing or influencing the pricing in the market in such a way that we will be a competitor. No one will be able to match our pricing in the market. We're going to be able to break the market pricing and the whole trading, going all the way from the factories down to the retailers, to the point that retailers will start consolidating their purchases over to us. So the 40%, is it high? Yes. Is it very high? Hell yes.
Okay.
But
If I may?
I'm showing that as a demonstration of our capabilities, of what we can decide to do.
Gil, there is a comment from Ritu.
Yeah, if I may butt in,
go ahead.
right? We had similar hopes when we said that there will be real estate websites, linking home buyers directly to people renting out, and the brokers will be taken away, right? What we have seen is the brokers have not gone anywhere.
No,
They've stayed there, right? They have used this platform, right? And the reason is that while tech can solve some of the problems, there are other problems that tech cannot solve, right? So, and I'm going back to the fundamental. I am not a techie guy, if at all, right? But, I'm a fundamental business guy, right? So the question is, when you are saying that, you are eliminating the importers, right? And that's the way you are making money. Is my understanding correct?
Listen, importers, you're always going to have importers. You can't take them out of the business entirely. But our intention here is to minimize.
So whom are you replacing? So again, my question is, whom are you replacing, right? Are you replacing then the team that was with the producer to create the content? Are you replacing them?
I'm replacing the whole importer needs. Yes, I'm taking the importers out of the market.
Okay. My
They're
question
always going to be imported.
right?
We're never going to have all the factories work with us.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with some questions to reflect upon, right? This thing. And this starts with a fundamental, statement that I heard on, economics podcast from, somebody from Google. Very well said that, you should be in love with the problem, not in love with the solution. And this is one of the blind spots that I've seen many of the retailers, especially in the tech space, having, right? And therefore, I'm a guy who speaks to, the solution providers like you to understand whom to onboard, right? And whenever I see somebody being very enamored by the tech, right, rather than what problem is getting solved, right? I say then there is a blind spot that needs to be overcome. So that's, one of my reflection to you, that what is the role that importer was playing? Which of these values, which of these problems are going to, are you going to replace? For example, if you are partially replacing it, then probably the value that you are adding is the partial workforce that importer may have applied, right? And therefore, I will find similar to what the statement that was being made, that the expansion of margin from 20 to 40, right? In an ideal world, yes, in the ideal world, what should have happened? The brokerage should have gone away, and the brokerage should have been split between the home buyer and the home, seller, etc. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions for you. So, I said this is for you to reflect upon. I don't understand the tech. I am not into this space directly, so that's why the thing. Uh, for you, if you look at it till now, in your journey, right? What have been the 3 key learnings as a success factor?
In what we're doing in here, or in just generally in
this business with HomeRoots, right? So far, right?
So the 3 key things. One, listen, there's always in everything. I expect the same is in the real estate business that you're part of, and I'm familiar with similar trends to that in the US. You always have the early adapters, and you have the late comers. Okay, that's one thing that I've kind of learned or more implemented in here. So that's one thing I'm gonna go back to this in a moment, but this is one key factor. The second key factor is about the role that large retailers play in the overall economy compared to small businesses, and the impact that they can have on the business. And third is more about the team. Okay. Now, I want to just go and just go back to the first my first comment here. It's about the role of importers and like whether realtor will be vanished or anything like that. Like any at the end of the day, put aside the icons that you got here. Behind those icons, there are people, human beings, like us, right, that operates. And we think and we have certain ideas, agendas, and things that we believe in and things that we feel comfortable with. When we speak to factories, when we speak to certain organizations, some of them are, they want to jump on board right away. They're early adopters for me. They're going to jump, they're going to utilize the model, they're going to move forward. Some will wait. Some will always feel comfortable with traditional OEM manufacturing. Put aside the technology, it's nothing to do with technology, it's more just a way of business. And therefore, I know that importers will stay there in the market because of those factories. But my goal is that if a factory is thinking a bit more innovative, willing to take a certain, you want to call it leap of faith,
Yeah.
okay, even though they are minimizing their risks, then their financial gain will increase.
Yeah.
And they will no longer need importers to control their own. And this is what we're
if
striving.
I may interrupt you, as you said, right, in describing these 3 categories, you're putting them to early adopters, late adopters, etc. What you have highlighted is your scalability problem, right?
Yes.
And for example, here, I can talk about, my experience, with me and Pankaj were together with VR, right? Which was again, pitching into retailers, and they had two very, very successful pilot with 2 of the biggest retailers, one in US and, one in Far East Asia, right? But then from that one project, and with demonstrated incremental cost saving, etc., generated, but to scale it up, to get the second client and the third client, or within the same client, getting more projects, right? So what happens is that you are right now assuming that there will be a very rapid scale up, right? What I will say is, and this is what I call the acid testing of assumption, right? Because the second customer acquisition may be more expensive than the first one, etc., right? Kind of this thing. And therefore, I don't know whether you will have margin expansion, and that needs to be built into your projection, right? So that you have enough runway, right? You also talked about demand side and supply side. Which do you think is the bigger challenge here?
If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I will tell you supply.
Okay. So right now you feel demand side, and demand side, I understand is that the retailers, you getting onboarded with retailers, that's the demand side. Is that correct?
That's the demand side, yeah. It's because I just didn't have enough product. I didn't have enough supply. I was short of product. And so that has been my biggest challenge, how to scale the number of products. This slide that we're showing up in here, the partnerships with private groups, with Alibaba, with Lazada, Tmall, Shopify, Asia Pacific, to the partnership with them to solicit their factories that they work with to come on board. That, again, we're not 100% live yet. With the private group, we're actually starting to see already suppliers coming on board. And I just came back 2+ weeks ago from China. But that's supposed to solve the problem, to solve the challenge of SKU and factories that are coming on board and the pricing and everything that goes with that. So, as I said, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I told you I need more products, I need more supply. Now I just need to be able to intake that supply and to be able to scale.
Yeah. So
that growth. It's a system issue, system challenge rather than
in my experience, you are on the right track. The more retailers you have onboarded, right? That's the more tricky one. These are the bigger clients. You need 10 of them, while you need 1,000 of small individual this thing. So the more retailers you onboard, but that's where the effort, the effort will need to be, right?
Yes.
This thing. And once you work with them, what I've realized is each one of them will have their own systems. So being able to interface with each one of them, etc., will be the challenge for you. So that's where your focus.
It is already a challenge, but that's where, going back to Thiago's question, we mapped, and I agree with 100%, it is a challenge. Listen, we mapped more than 2.5 million fields, okay, to meet the retailers. A lot of data has been passed on, and this is where, going back again to Thiago's question, how do we scale it? As we bring in more retailers, each one, I agree with you, they have different systems, different requirements, the call field in different names, different term, whatever it is. But we can still find, now after doing 20 of those, and 20 integration of those, we can find the similarities and the consistencies. And I think using technology, again, going back to Thiago's question about agent AI, I think we can help scale it faster, those integrations. And listen, at the end of the day, there aren't 1,000 big box retailers in the market in the US. There's a cap, right?
And so and that's like the big pebbles that you need to fit into the into the jar first, and then there will be enough space for still the smaller the thing etc.
Yeah, this is why I have the SMBs here on the.
My final summary will be right now. Jel, I feel like you're talking about lots of you are very excited, right? You are feeling that you are attracting the retailers and as well as the supplier at the same time. You feel you will be working on scaling up and margin expansion and additional SaaS revenue, etc. kind of this thing. Too many things happening at the same time. What I've realized is, your offering, your moat needs to become very sharper, right? It will have to become, one thing in which you are better than everybody else, right? So that will be the thing. I asked 3 questions. What is the problem that you are solving? How big is that problem that you are solving? And third is, why are you the best at it? And there I will prefer a sharp answer rather than I'm good at slightly good at everything, right? So that one thing, is it interface, is the number of retailers you have on board, right? Is it your technology in terms of bringing the product alive, is that the best? So one of make your offering sharper, and in that you become the best. And to arrive at which one should that be, I will request you to map yourself versus what are the additional, what are the all the value that the importer is bringing, right? Which of it you cannot compete with, which of it you can, right? And that's where you make the pitch, okay? And then make it sharper will be my advice, right?
Just making sure that Onno's question was answered. Onno, are you satisfied with the response, or you wanted to have more clarity?
No, I'm not satisfied with the response, but the question was answered. I think it's really bad practice to increase your margin when you're running an expansion, and you're inviting in competition, you're inviting in people freezing you out because you're looking for too much of the pie. I think it's a very risky thing to do, and it's completely unnecessary. If you look at so I would never mention that 40% again, because you're in public here, right? Anybody can see this. If it is true that you have 20% value to offer to transactions, that's a fantastic achievement. And if people pay you 20% for that, that's even better. And then you just increase your volume, because the big issue you have is you're still very small. You're not dominating anything. But as soon as you dominate, you're going to be a similar problem to the people you deal with. And then they're going to look to freeze you out. So if you've then bloated your bill, which means you're bloating everything downstream because you're taking too much money on a transaction, you're not going to be in a sustainable business model. You're going to invite in your own competition. I wouldn't do it if I were you.
No, I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. I wanted to maybe I didn't emphasize that enough. That the 40% was that I know it's huge, and I said that I think it's I mentioned to go 20% is nice, it's good, it's very good, but 40% is crazy. And I agree with you 100%. That invites dissatisfaction on both sides, right? Everybody thinks like we're taking too much from the pie. Wholeheartedly agree with you. I use that. My only intention was to use that as a form of enabling how we can be flexible with the pricing and how much more aggressive we can be with pricing that we can offer the retailers in such manner that will be hard to compete with us. But not necessarily for us to take the 40%. So maybe I need to work on my the way I'm saying it or the way I'm describing it. But yeah, I agree. For us, actually, to write down 40% margin, that's 40% margin is more like 55% markup, and it's a no-go. I agree with you. It's a no-go.
Thank you, Gil. Gil, you are sitting in front of experts, so I think you can also take this opportunity to ask questions that you have to the experts. You can ask about your go-to-market strategy, your channel strategy, your product differentiation, or any final advice that they may want to give you, one piece of advice.
So I guess one piece of advice that I have, and I'll stop the sharing here for a moment, is more if you were in a so actually it's a couple of questions because each and every one of you comes from a different background and experience, so it will be interesting. But if you were sitting in a chair of the retailer, right, I'm looking down from the eye of the customer. What are the things that are most important to you that you expect to see from your a solution provider?
Okay, can I take that first, as a retailer, and then I need to go kind of this thing. So I'm not, so I've been a fashion retailer, and I've worked mostly single brands. So therefore, not in the home or not, kind of a department store. But, I know that for me to be able to serve my customer, right, I need to have some of the things that we have already talked about, which is, very clear product representation, whether it is in terms of, its imagery, whether it's in terms of, product demo videos, the description of the product, etc., what it can be combined with. So all that recommendation engine, but that's only what the customer sees. What we need, what I need in the, at the back end is a very, very reliable supply chain, right? So for example, as you already mentioned, that retailers hold it in the US warehouse, right? Because, sorry, importers hold it in the US warehouse because it provides me a certain level of comfort at a certain speed, it will be available, right? The speed of delivery, right? The accuracy of the stock file, right? In case, I get, any refunds, how so returns, then how am I able to process it? The supply chain efficiency. And in that, a big part is the data flow. That becomes very, very important, right? I hope Anjali will agree with bits of what I said, right? As a fellow retailer.
Yeah, I do. I completely agree with Midun. As a home retailer, apart from the supply chain efficiency, the biggest challenge is the product differentiation as well. So the factories that you select, the supply base which you select, and the country of origin where you select, it's also very important because obviously in current scenario, China is not a really good position to source factories, but definitely you can look into different markets like Vietnam for furniture and Malaysia's and Turkey is not a bad place for furniture and other home goods. Turkey is also very well known for textiles as well, and also European market. So maybe you can your sourcing, you can look into finding suppliers and factories across different regions as well. And also you can, instead of direct factories, you can also look into consolidators who already are, referring to the smaller factories and making their curation of products and then selling it to the retailers. So maybe those could also be one point of contact for home goods. Because, as a home retailer, we have been sourcing from multiple regions and we get in touch with the direct factories also because where we are able to match the MOQs and the pricing, the cost effectiveness. We deal with the direct factories wherever we think that the products have in style and aesthetics, they're very different, but we're not able to cater to the MOQs. We work with the consolidators, give a little bit of price hike, and it just you get some newness for customers. So from my side, I think this would be a solution where you can look into. But obviously, as an AI tool, I think you can do wonders where you can definitely always advance the content strategy. That's not a big thing, but I think finding the right supplier and factories, because for a retailer, cost is very important. Whatever they get from the factories gets converted into the MRPs. So, and in the US, obviously with the changing environments, being competitive for even these big retailers, it's also very important. So from my side, yeah, this would be the suggestion.
Thanks a lot, Anjali. Onno, Thiago, any last comment from your side?
Yeah, I have a comment, but not in the retail supplier network about the tech. I think you need to look for a R&D perspective, because in a few months this technology can be disrupted, with this kind of interoperability protocols you have today, like MCP, NIP, A2A. This is going to be nuts in 3 to 6 months. So it will be very easy to handle 2,000 fields from some retailer, So I think from the tech perspective, you should be investing some money in R&D to always stay ahead of what the market, like Microsoft, Google, and also Amazon are providing in terms of AI,
Yes, I agree. It's moving too fast nowadays, way too fast.
Thiago?
Yeah.
Onno, please.
So I've said a lot already. One thought in terms of something to watch for. It's around quality, because what retailers also want is they don't want too many disappointed customers at the back end of the transaction, because it's going to destroy them. And not all your partners are high-end retailers, to put it politely. So that's okay. But it's still an issue, because you can't solve quality purely with tech by analyzing photos. So I think that's something to deal with. The other thing is, as you get bigger, the issue of product differentiation, because people don't want to all sell the same thing, or they don't want to be perceived as all selling the same thing. And faking product differentiation is not a long-term viable strategy. So I think you need to think through maybe how you can use the same connections and the same producers to differentiate by making significant but small changes so that it becomes efficient, if you see what I mean, or something along those lines. Because that's not just how you present it and what photo you put on the internet. It actually has something to do with what the product looks and feels like when it gets to the end customer. Because that is not a tech interaction. That's a physical interaction. And people need to like what they see. And retailers need to recognize their identity. Not all of your retailers really have identity, but some of them do. You need to be very careful with that.
That's a good point.
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists for this fantastic conversation today. I'm sure it has been very helpful for you, Gil, as well.
Yes,
I see that you are not sweating, you are not crying, so I think it
no, it's good feedback. I mean, I love that. I thank you for the candid feedback. I think there's very each and every one of you very good questions and good points and advices ahead. And it's clear that Pankaj, you collected a group of people that are very knowledgeable.
Thank you.
And I can see that, and it's extremely valuable to me on a personal level. So I appreciate that. That's the only way we learn, right? If you sugarcoat it, you say, no, everything looks fine. No, not everything is fine. Not all the business just going up all the time. You got ups and downs, you got challenges. You need to be able to address that.
Cheering the loudest when you succeed, right? When you succeed, we'll be the one cheering the loudest. So all the best.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mridu. And thanks a lot, Gil, for taking it very positively, constructively. Appreciate it. And I hope that we can reconnect again and see how we can support each other. Yeah. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.